Man like Mark Sullivan, the warrior self. Stay tuned for the thrilling episode. Woo!
A positive mental attitude can clear away all obstacles which stand between you and your major purpose in life.
This is the Snowboard Project featuring Mark Sullivan and the Bead. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.
Welcome back to the Snowboard Project. I'm Mark Sullivan.
And I am the Beav. And it is another Monday, which means another episode of Real Talk coming at you right now.
Yeah.
This week in snowboarding. A lot going on this week in snowboarding.
Yeah, there was. And I mean, first and foremost, it snowed all the way across the country. I mean, we had powder here. I know
we did. Yeah.
I know California had some crazy powder. And I believe the East Coast got some good powder this past weekend.
Did you get up there and get some turns in this weekend?
I did. In fact, so I actually did. I had a first today.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
What was it?
So for the first time ever, I commuted to work today via ski lift.
Oh, yeah.
Now I've gone to work and sat in an announcing scenario where you're outside on a tower all day, commute via ski lift to work that way.
Right.
But today I actually came to the office via ski lift. So
wait, time out. Are we calling this hostel room at the hot water?
The office.
The office?
We'll call it the studio.
Okay.
So I commuted to the studio today via ski lift. I did about 4,000 vertical on the way here today.
Right.
We actually had quite a bit of snow, but it came in a little bit warm.
Right.
Still super fun, actually, on the way here. So
yeah. A lot of snow, a lot of dangerous conditions happening out there right now, too.
Yeah,
kind of, huh?
like seriously dangerous conditions out there, especially like in the continental region. So if you're not like in California, Washington, Oregon, like along the coast there, you're dealing with a continental snowpack, and we've seen quite a bit of actual avalanches, even fatalities here in the last week, just in the last week.
Right, and continental snowpacks are notorious for being dangerous snowpacks because, we end up getting really cold conditions with not a lot of moisture, with, layers and layers on top of very weak, persistent deep layers, that kind of stuff. What's going on in the snowpack right now?
We got some deep layers, some frost hoar down deep, and so it actually is fairly dangerous. From what I understand, there was actually a slide here just like out of bounds, like side country, let's say. You ride out of the resort, and a lot of times people aren't like, hey, I'm going to cut this rope, I'm going to go over to this area, I better bring my beacon, shovel, and probe.
Right.
A lot of people just be like, wow, that run was sick, where's the next line? Okay, cut this rope, and there's another patch of powder below me, and they don't think like, okay, this hasn't been controlled by ski patrol, this is just like actually it's side country because you accessed it from the lift, but it's not controlled. It's actually more dangerous. So from what I understand, we actually had a slide here just outside our resort boundary.
We did. Yeah, I think there were two snowboarders that were riding out in the burn. Sun Valley has a burn area, kind of lift access. You can get in and out of it.
And if you're not familiar with what a burn is, it's like basically we have forest fires here in the summer months, and so it basically burns out the excess vegetation and creates a wonderful area for tree skiing. Stump skiing.
It is, but it's one of those places like you get lured into pretty quick, just chasing powder, and all of a sudden you can find yourself in a situation like these two guys. And I guess they both kind of got buried, but were able to dig themselves out. One guy was a little more buried than the other.
Yeah, so super scary though. Regardless, super scary. And I mean that's not all of it. I mean at Loveland this past Friday, inside the ski area boundary, about 2:30 in the afternoon, they had a slide, which is like okay, the the mountain's still open. They figured it was a skier triggered or snowboarder triggered. They don't know who triggered it.
Right.
But anyhow, big avalanche comes down in one of this kind of like side areas at the resort. And so what do? I mean, if you're just skiing at a ski area, you wouldn't necessarily have a beacon on. So basically they dispatch the dogs and the ski patrol, and they just basically probe this avalanche debris field looking for bodies. And so I think around 6 p.m. they're like, okay, nobody's in here. Few. Right, but honestly, it's like maybe they didn't find, and there's someone buried under there, and they just wouldn't know.
It was kind of scary. There were like a few of these that popped off. There's one in Taos this week with a couple skiers.
There was a fatality involved with that one. That was actually like a full inbound avalanche,
right?
And the guy died.
Dude.
Right. He was buried for over an hour. No beacon. I mean, you're inbound, so you're like, I don't need a beacon inbound. Guy died. Took him over an hour to find the 2 people who got buried.
Right.
One of them is fighting for his life still.
Really?
Yeah, he got flight for life out, and the other guy, I think, died on the scene.
I think it was crazy. The headline popped up and I was like, oh, like it said unknown amount of people buried, so they're just sitting there just blindly trying to figure out where people are.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not a bad idea on a big powder day, especially like within 24 hours of the storm, to just wear the beacon. I mean, honestly, you don't even notice it hanging around you. Right. And frankly, if something were to happen, at least they can try to find you quickly.
Yeah, I think it was a little crazy, and it's just like even in the safest of situations, you feel like you might be in, maybe that's inbounds, or like this last week when there was a fatality with what was it, the Colorado Avalanche?
Yeah, like an Airy level 2 class. Right, a fatality. So there's like literally a level 2 Avalanche class in Colorado by what's it called, Silverton, down that area, Red Mountain Pass area, and there was a avalanche that basically captured. There were 6 people involved in it. There was actually 2 avalanches, and so basically the first guy got hit from behind. There was like 2 guys on slope. First guy gets hit from behind. He actually didn't get fully buried. He was a partial burial, but the second guy who was on slope behind him got fully buried. And then a sympathetic slide on like an adjacent slope released. And basically this guy got buried under 2 avalanche debris fields. And this is during a class where you're like supposed to be learning about how to be safe in the backcountry. So pretty crazy. You can go to the Colorado Avalanche, I believe coloradoavalanche.org maybe, and read the full report there, because I read through it, and honestly it's really tragic, any way you cut it, and you can look back and hindsight or whatever, but really it's like it seems like they were trying to be careful, and the conditions were considerable, so it was dangerous, but it wasn't like extreme or something where it was like anywhere you go it's going to slide, so I mean anything can happen. And really looking at like the avalanche reports, like when an avalanche happens, they report it, and there's actually a map with little red pins on it. You can read the different avalanche reports. Seems like there's a ton in the continental snowpack areas. So just be careful out there. Yeah,
and be sure to if you're choosing to go in the backcountry, obviously take the right gear and know how to read the reports and check those things. There's one. Yeah. There's a we have the Sawtooth Avalanche Center around here. There is definitely one regionally for wherever you are.
Every state or every like kind of mountain region will have its own avalanche. Utah has one, Colorado has one, California, Washington, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so. And learn to read those and understand what they mean. So you can see that. Anyways,
know before you go, or something along those lines.
Yeah. All right, we should move on to something a little more happy or exciting, right?
You don't want to get all the negative news out of the way first.
I think let's just say that was some of the negative stuff.
I know we got other negative. Let's get it all out of the way.
No, let's not. Let's go into. Let's keep
folks,
talking.
Just bear in mind, we're going to drive off a cliff in a little while.
We're not going to drive off a cliff.
So what do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about Powder in Japan Freeride World Tour.
Ooh. So there was a Freeride World Tour. It was actually on the first weather day. They had about a 10-day weather window. They actually pulled off the event on the first day of the window.
Right.
And so I actually watched the whole thing with my son. And we watched the whole event, and we didn't really pay attention to the skiing side of it. There were so many skiers.
But you still watched it?
Well, I mean, we were actually getting some mailing together.
Gotcha.
We were actually working.
Okay.
We had that on the background.
So how did it go? How was it?
Okay, so first of all, Powder looked awesome.
Okay.
Venue looked pretty fun actually too.
Right.
On the downside, there was like 2-3 times as many skiers as snowboarders in the event. It's like, well, we don't count.
Right.
And then if you look at the field, there were like 4 guys on the snowboard field that I'd even heard of, and then the other guys, 5 guys. I've heard of a couple of the other ones. But anyhow, basically they're no names. Right. So even though you're on like the world tour going from stop to stop to stop, they're basically nobody's beat, which kind of surprised me. It's like, how come there aren't like pro snowboarders doing the Freeride World Tour?
Right. Well, obviously, like Gigi took second and Travis took first.
Yeah.
Those are really the names that I saw in the top.
Yeah, but there was Victor Delarue there. Sammy Lubke was there.
Lubke
Those
was
would
there.
be two other names that you would probably recognize. Those are actually the other two names of people who are like have been established in like the snowboarding media and videos and magazines.
So let's talk about this. I don't want this to be like a negative conversation, but is it that it's just falling off, or is it just too hard to get to, or is it that like people are just not interested in that?
I'm not sure exactly what the reason is.
Sure.
That, I mean, maybe it's just like based in skiing and the snowboarders play second fiddle. That could be it.
Could it be that people go all that way to just ride subpar conditions 90% of the time?
Well,
and just
yeah, I
don't
mean,
wanna
that's
risk their
another thing
lives?
is like basically you're riding in this contest venue that has tracks on it, and honestly, that's not gonna get great photos. It's not gonna get video parts.
Sure.
Really, you're competing, and I think you have to dedicate as well so much time to doing like the actual full tour. Right, if you're going to do the full Freeride World Tour, it kind of takes you out of the mix for doing like a film part, or let's say, going on a lot of photo shoots.
You'd have to dedicate a week to each of these events.
At least a week to each one of these events.
You got to fly there, hang out for 4 or 5 days, and fly home. And then you're just screwed because you're
pretty much. But anyhow, I would say that like. I mean, it was the tale of basically Travis Rice and everyone else.
Right.
And so I think the Travis Rice clip is floating around the internet, and it was pretty sick. He had this, straight air off the top, backside 7, which he stomped, and then he went into this, traversed like all the way across the mountain, and then came through this trees, had a couple of really sweet blower turns, and then had this like sketchy landing off this one cliff, and it went right into a backflip.
Right.
And then stopped the backflip, and my son was like, whoa, he was crashing, and then he crashed into a backflip. That was weird. And I was like, yeah, but he stomped it and rode away. Right. So it was actually a really sick run for Travis Rice, I thought anyway.
Right.
So he won, and then I'm like, okay, well, what did Gigi do? He got second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what did Gigi do?
Okay, so Gigi had a couple of really nice large airs, but no grabs.
No grabs.
Right? A lot of window rolling, and that was like second place. Right? So clearly it's like I've seen a lot better riding with my own two eyes in the backcountry.
Sure.
The other thing I saw was like, okay, the announcers were just, they didn't really explain it very well.
Right.
So like, for instance, they kept talking about how it's like different to do like a ski inspection versus a visual inspection. So, and they were like, the visual inspection is something you can't explain. Actually, you can't explain to people.
Yeah.
So the ski inspection is basically when you ride down the course and you kind of size up all the cliffs, you can actually stand right next to them and see how big the airs are. And the visual inspection is when you're standing at the bottom and you're looking across the slope. And basically that's when the experience takes over. And so that's exactly what we do in Alaska every run. And so it's like, of course, I'm familiar with visual inspection, but the idea is that you can size up both reading the snow, right, what the quality of the snow will be from afar.
Right.
And you do that with binoculars, you do it through photos, and then also like the scale of all the features, right? And then the third part is basically when you're standing at the valley floor looking up at a slope versus when you're standing on top looking down, it actually looks totally different. And so you have to kind of stand there at the bottom and be like, well, what is that tree going to look like from the top? Because I got to be left of that tree. Right. And so really it's a matter of like basically translating, pull a matrix in your mind and flipping around to the top and really kind of understanding how that terrain lays out down the mountain.
Right.
So it is more challenging, but that also guarantees the athletes better conditions for their landings, for any of the lines they're going to do. Basically, any event that has a ski inspection is junk. Garbage in my mind, because you're tracking it out. You're tracking out a big mountain venue before the contest. It's like, and then it's not powder, then it's moguls. Yeah. It's like, let's see, you can do the best mogul down in extreme terrain. No. So anyhow,
the best in the world should be able to do that.
Yeah, they should. And I would look forward though to seeing like guys like, Travis, Gigi. I mean, if it was like a who's who of big mountain riders, and I guess that's the issue I have to pick is like
how could we make these things more fun and more attractive to other riders?
I'm not sure really what they have to do it, but I can tell you this is like I would give it a lot more credence if it was like the who's who of big mountain riders from the videos. Right. I look at like John Jackson. I look at Eric Jackson. I look at like, the Man Boys in Canada. I mean, there's guys all over the country and world who have made names for themselves in Alaska and big mountain riding. And yet it's like, okay, you get Travis Rice. There's a name. Gigi Ruff. There's a name. Victor Delarue. There's a name. Sammy Lubke. There's a name.
Right.
And then you have Davey Barrett. He got third. You got Jonathan Penfield. I mean, it's like
Blake Ham, Keita Yamazaki. Like, who are these people?
Yeah, who are they? I hope they got free boards.
But, at least they're stoked on snowboarding. They're there. Yeah, they showed up.
But Race actually had a sick run, especially like that backflip towards the end.
For sure.
And that was cool.
For sure.
And I thought it was really weird, too, when I was looking at the points. So they didn't give Travis Rice any points for it because he's only doing the first event. So it was like really confusing looking at the points. But Gigi is now the points leader, followed by Davey Baird and Jonathan Penfield on the Freeride Tour overall standings.
Wait, so why didn't they give Travis any points?
Because he's not doing the next event, and so he didn't qualify for points.
Okay.
And then also just want to shout out.
Let's just not give him points and make him more stoked to come to the next one.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Rana Anlova from Russia. First time I've seen a Russian name on top of the box, so that's cool. And then Manuela Mendel from Austria and Marion Herdy from France.
Yeah.
So that's our women's top 3 as well. So it was cool to watch, good snow conditions, but I think they have to do a little bit of work in terms of their format and getting the right athletes to compete.
Sure.
Okay, what else do we have this week?
Well, it seemed to me that there were like 2 places in the world where everyone was competing, really. Right. Like you had Japan, and there were a whole bunch of people actually that were just in Japan to freeride. A ridiculous amount.
What was even better than the Freeride World Tour were all like the powder face shots that I saw on like Instagram and Facebook, just like plastered, just beard, cake, just like out of every orifice snow.
I mean, we talked about this, how just everybody, like last week, how everybody was in Japan, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So, anyways, there was Japan, and then on the other side of the world, the same thing was kind of happening over there in Laax.
Right.
And we actually did an interview with Gimbal God, right?
Right. That was fun. He was over there.
Gimbal God was over there, and he was having a fun time. And if you checked out any of like his Instagram or Instagram stories or Instagram video, you can see all his adventures. He is not a huge powder rider, we found out.
But he's learning, and honestly, it's like, hey, there's always room to improve. There's always room to take snowboarding in a new direction and challenge yourself in new ways. And so now the Gimbal God is actually working on doing gimbal pow shots, which is adds a whole layer of complexity to doing it. I mean, it's one thing to get your speed right and chase somebody off a jump and keep that right distance. It's another thing entirely to be getting face shots and blasted through powder over pillow lines and not being able to see because, you're following Stale and he just did a huge whack and just buried you in a cloud of snow.
Right.
So,
but beyond that, I mean, there were so many just like sick clips that they shot out there in Laax of just like the, Stale through the course there. I think there was one where Nick Baden, it was dropping off the drop in.
Yeah.
And then, the course was, sick. The whole course was rad, and then it had like this horseshoe at the bottom and redirected
I like the horseshoe.
you.
I've never seen that in a slow style.
Redirected you into another feature, another rail going the opposite direction. So.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And honestly, I think they were lucky to actually pull it off. I heard they got about 10 meters of snow in 2 weeks, and like literally 10 meters is like 30 feet of snow. Like, I mean, buildings buried, like with these little tunnels into buildings, and like just vehicles lost, right? Literally
all their jumps were like 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
And they had to rebuild all of them.
But they did actually pull off the Laax Open, so they did have the slope style, and they did have a half pipe.
Yep.
Yeah, and so do you want to talk about the slope style?
Yeah, we'll kind of go through like the men's and women's results for slope. On the women's side of things, in third place, Sina Kandrian.
Yeah, Laax local.
Oh, is she?
Yeah,
no
and
way.
Olympian.
Really?
Olympian, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. That's a name that I haven't really heard too much of, but you have. In second, Celia Petrig.
And I have not heard of her. Right. She's Swiss, though, so I guess representing her home country in Switzerland, I'm guessing.
And then taking down first, Silje Norendal.
So, yes, coming in hot.
Yep, she's coming in hot. On the men's side of things, third we had Moritz Theanen, and in second we had.
I think that might have been Moritz's first podium, by the way, in a World Cup level event.
Good for Moritz because There were some heavy hitters there. For
on
the
plenty
slope
of
side
heavy
of
hitters.
things. A lot of guys that were like heavy hitters that didn't even qualify for the main event.
Right, and so the Laax Open was different in that they had like a qualifier,
Okay.
a semifinal, and then a final.
Interesting.
Yeah, so most events you have a qualifier final.
Sure.
Right, you qualify for the finals, but now they have like qualifier, semifinal, final, and they ran the semifinal and final in the same day.
Right.
And in the pipe, they ran the pipe at night, which made for an extremely long day and just a little bit of a curveball for the athletes just to deal with a long day like that and have a day semifinal, night final.
Right.
But anyhow, back to the men's results. Stale got second.
Yep.
And pretty sick run, actually. And then Chris Corning took home the victory. So Chris Corning looking pretty strong here for a world championship, which I'll be announcing in Salt Lake next month, beginning of February.
Awesome.
And also, hopefully, Sven Thorngren is okay. I see that he sat out. He did not start in the final.
really?
He made the final through the semifinal, but he sat out the final, which makes me worried, right? It's just like, okay, are you okay? Did you like have a bad landing in that? Because why, if you make the final, would you sit it out?
Right.
So anyhow, I hope he's okay.
There were some names like Nick van der Velden. Made it in there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Nick Baden took down to 10th.
Yep.
I thought this was interesting. Sean Fitzsimons, 11th. And
Really?
Fitzsimons, I think he's a Mountain Hood kid. You just like was always this tiny kid that would show up at events, and now it's like you see him on like the World Cup.
Right.
In an 11th. What? Little
Pretty
Sean
cool.
Fitzsimons.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Men's pipe.
Okay, men's pipe.
Hit me
It
with
was
that.
the story of. Who do you think?
Scotty James.
It was. And honestly, it's going to be hard to beat Scotty James this year, and here's why.
Right.
It's like, it seems like Scotty James has got the most difficult tricks in the game. Not only does he have them, he has them dialed. So, like, switch
does.
backside 12 in my book is the hardest trick done in the half pipe today.
Yeah.
And so he's got it on lock now. And so basically, when Scotty James is running at about 90% of his capacity, every other athlete, just to try to compete, is running at like 110%.
Right.
And so they're right at the red line, and basically, Scotty James goes on cruise control. He actually got a victory lap, so he didn't even have to win it he didn't have to like battle it out to the last run. He just kind of cruised to the finish.
Well, and I want to make just a note of that cruise because he just decided that he would just take his victory lap along the side of the pipe and high five and handshake all the fans along the side,
right?
Which I thought was a pretty classy move. Even though I think all of us would love to see him try and like up his other result, I thought that was pretty cool. Like, go give some love to the crowd, you know.
And then Yuto Totsuka finished in second from Japan. Jake Pates, American, finished third, and then just a couple others worth mentioning. The younger Hirano brother, Ruka Hirano.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he finished in fifth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
So we may have two Hiranos on the podium.
Was Ayumu there?
No, he wasn't. But can you imagine having Ayumu and Aruka Hirano on the podium? I mean, it's not very often that two brothers can podium an event in anything, really.
Yeah. I hear Ayumu is like a sick skateboarder, right?
Well, I'm thinking actually. Now, here's my speculation.
I wanted to hear yours because I had my speculation.
Okay, my
too.
speculation is that the reason why we didn't see him at the Dew Tour, didn't see him at the Grand Prix, haven't seen him at any World Cups, is because he's actually training for skateboarding for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Because what could feel better than winning a gold medal? Well, he's got a silver medal, a couple silvers, I think, in snow. No, he's got a silver and two silvers in half pipe snowboard. So why not try to go for a medal in your home country in the Summer Olympics too? So that'd be pretty cool.
And I say that's maybe a strong possibility because Sean's trying to do the same thing. And I saw on Sean's Instagram like him hugging Ayumu, like, "Oh, look who I found out here!"
Right, and you know, I would guess anyway that like Japanese skateboarding, in order to qualify for the team, is slightly less competitive than the American, skateboarding is just like skateboarding is an American sport. It's going to be like the hardest team to make, basically here in America,
for sure.
So anyhow, that was a little sideline there,
complete waylay, just about some skeptical.
All right, and then on the women's side, then let's just finish this out. Chloe Kim, of course, right, and then Corley Castellet. How do you say that?
Coralt Castellet.
Okay, see, I don't speak Spanish. Say that again.
How do you announce halfpipe events and you've never said
I make
her
Brad
name?
say it every time.
Oh, you do?
I do for her. I'm just like, that's one I can't say.
Coralt Castellet.
Okay, I'll remember that for next time. And then Ariel Gold in third. So
Yep.
2 Americans on the podium in pipe, and then we had a winner in the slope style, Chris Corning. So pretty cool. That was a Laax event, but really the story of that event was like 10 meters of snow, and maybe the real winner. Who do you think the real winner was?
Gimbal God.
Okay. Why did Gimbal God win?
That dude just crushed so much content in front of everybody. Just like they were doing, their Insta TV thing. He was putting out clips daily, and they were all the ones that were being reposted about, the course preview from Laax. I mean, come on, let's be real. And he's the one that's 2 feet from everybody in the air, giving you that perspective that you don't normally get. So
we got his interview coming out February 1st, I believe. February 1st.
Really?
Yeah, I just put it on the schedule right there. Boom, done.
Wow. Wait,
February
does
1st.
that go Barrett, Christie, then Gimbal God?
Yeah, how sick is that week?
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so here's the schedule. This week we're going to have Tracy Canada and Zeb Powell.
Okay.
Right? So one of the veterans, the guy who started Never Summer, and then a guy who just literally signed his pro contract an hour before I did his interview.
Wild.
Yeah. And then next week we're going to have Barrett Christie.
Right.
Team manager for Roxy, pro model on GNU for 20 years.
Sure.
And then we're going to have the Gimbal God on Friday. And I think we're putting Gimbal God into the category of pro category.
Okay.
Because I think that every pro actually looks up to the Gimbal God more than they look up to the other pros around them.
I always looked at the pro career was actually twofold. It had the rider who was the really good rider, and then the person that was going to follow him and make him famous. Famous.
Right.
So they're kind of symbiotic, I guess, in a sense. You can't exist without the other. Stale is for sure more famous because Gimbal God is able to ride the way.
And
that he does.
like some people would be like, oh yeah, like that photographer is just like a remora fish on the shark, right? And it's like, no, I'd say that it's like the Gimbal God and Stale together. It's like they're both sharks.
Yeah,
you got a killer, you got a great white and a killer whale.
Yeah.
Right,
like Stale
together.
needs Gimbal God just as much as Gimbal God needs Stale.
Yeah,
otherwise they would not exist.
I mean, Stale would be a great rider, but the Gimbal God makes it look like unique and better than anyone. To the point where you're like watching these clips over and over and over again. Hey, folks, if you're out there listening to the Snowboard Project.
Boring. Nice pitch, dude. I think we've done that one a lot.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Come at it with a little harder. Come a little more creative.
Tell me to be creative.
Yeah, do it now.
Hey, folks.
Starts with hey, folks again. He hey, folks to you guys. He hey, folks to you. Yeah, he did.
All right.
All right, what do you got?
I don't have any ads. You do the ads, Beeb.
All right. If
I
you're
do
out
the interviews, you do the ads. How about that?
All right. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Beef here.
It's so much better than hey, folks. Not folks, guys.
Yeah.
It's so much. Such a.
It is really hard asking people to do really stupid things for you. Like, hey, could you just go rate and review our podcast?
Would you mind double knotting that shoe?
Would you mind just tying my shoe for me? Hey, if you're out there and you really want to help a couple snowboarders out, could you just come to Sun Valley and just tie our shoes? But an easier ask would be
Can you tie my boot for me, Beef?
An easier ask would be just to go to your iTunes, rate us, review us, help us. Sullivan's over there crying because he's laughing so hard. Help us out here. We're just a couple snowboarders that want to make an awesome podcast for you. If you can go rate, review us, and hey, if you feel like donating to us, if you feel like giving us, a couple bucks, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/the Snowboard Project. You guys rule.
Anything else from Laax? Anything else from Europe?
I don't think so. Yeah, it was a good one. Go out and scope all the stuff from Laax. There was a lot of fun stuff going on.
Okay.
On the home front in the U.S.
Yeah.
The heaviest competition in all of the U.S. at the time happened right here in Sun Valley.
The heaviest competition in 2019 in all of Blaine County.
In all of Blaine County.
Right.
We had a bank slalom around here, and bank slaloms, man, it's just like, I think the thing about it is just the community of people that are attracted by these bank slaloms. And I realized there were a bunch of people that had followed from the A-Rob Smash Life, driven home and then driven out here, and then they were going to be going, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Nico drove out to the Bank Life.
Then he
drove back to Seattle. He got ninth there. He got ninth here too.
Yeah.
But then he drove back out here, so we made like, you know, Seattle,
right?
Montana, Seattle, or it's on the Idaho-Montana border, but then back here in like 2 weekends. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's people from all over, and I think that's really cool that the Mount Baker Bank Slalom gives for the top category, the open category, they give you a spot at the Bank Slalom at Mount Baker, and so people will travel apparently 8 to 10 hours to try to earn their spot at Mount Baker.
To try to earn that spot. That spot was earned by a guy named Shane Chappelle.
Yeah.
And I believe he's out of Park City down there.
Right. But he actually wasn't even the fastest guy.
Right.
That's crazy, though.
Which is crazy. Some 35 plus.
Yeah. In the
guy,
old guy division.
Not just some guy. I guess he shows up just out of the blue and then crushes everyone and just walks away. It's like,
I think he worked at High Cascade for a number of years, so he definitely knows his way around a snowboard. But anyhow, the fastest time of the day was 35 plus division, which actually gives us all hope.
Right.
Not all of us. All of us over 35.
His name was Ben Buchanan, but some of the other guys in the men's pro open that were at least semi-names, there was a Graham Watanabe, Olympian.
3-time.
Matt Hughes has been around the block for sure, and the Dirksen and the Don Baker and this one.
So how about the women?
The Baker. And then let me just say, like Pat Holland, Wyatt Caldwell.
Right.
There were a bunch of people.
Well, how about the women? Who won for the open
and
women?
Then for the open women, we'll just go top three. Ralph Friedman took third, Janessa Bork in second, and Audrey Hebert in first.
All people I don't know, but it was actually a really fun event. And so a couple things stuck out for me.
Yeah.
So
tell me.
One with the side bets.
Oh yeah. What were some of the side bets?
Okay,
that was going on?
the funniest side bet was probably between this guy named Spencer Cordovano. He won the amateurs at Mount Baker
right.
A couple years back, and then Dave Sipniewski. And so they had a side bet. Loser gets a nose ring.
What?
Loser gets a nose ring.
So wait, did Sipniewski have to get a nose ring?
Sipniewski has to get a nose ring. And so he'll be rolling with a nose ring at Mount Baker for the LBS, for the legendary bank slalom.
And it was, so Spencer came up with this idea?
I did.
You did.
Well, they were just they were going to so the first bet they were trying to do was that Spencer has to cut off his hair if he loses. And then check this out. Sipniewski was going to name his son after his wife is pregnant right now. He was going to name his son after Spencer. Spencer Sipniewski.
My God.
I know.
No.
I was like, oh man.
Wow.
And then so I was like, no. Well, Spencer actually backed out of it. Spencer's like, I can't cut off my hair. It's too beautiful. And I was like, you're such a P word.
Oh,
anyhow,
you did not use that word on the.
Yeah, we're not using it. Anyhow, but so anyhow, then I threw out the nose ring, and I guess they kind of both agreed to it, but Sipniewski lost. I thought a belly button ring would work equally well. I mean, summer's coming here,
right?
But no, until March 1st, nose ring till March 1st.
Oh my God, no way.
But the crazy thing is, Sipniewski's a stand-up guy. He's gonna have that nose ring,
right?
And at least he doesn't have to name his kid after Spencer.
That could be the worst.
Yeah, that's this born handicap.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So yeah, and then one other thing that stuck out in my mind was that it was actually my son's first ever snowboard contest.
Right.
And so that was actually really fun. Just to watch him kind of hang out there at the start and play with friends, whatever. I was just kind of helping out with the announcing a little bit.
Right.
But just keeping my eye on Raj and making sure he was having a good time. Ended up having a blast. Right. And so that's kind of what I wanted, is to have just a good time and hang out with friends and ride with different people. And he was like, man, it's so cool. There's snowboarders from everywhere here, and we ride in packs.
Right.
And I was like, oh, yeah, we're riding in packs this weekend. So, yeah, he enjoyed it and just came away interested in doing more snowboarding contests. And so I guess that's a win for me.
Nice.
And, he didn't win. I think he got fourth place, but there's nothing to brag about, right? It's just like, hey, you had fun. That's the win.
Right.
You know, I mean, some of the kids who beat him were just like so fast. It was like, oh, you're not going for first here, Raj.
Right.
But you're
Right.
going for fun, right?
Sure,
So you
sure.
can be the winner in the fun category.
Hey, and that's
so.
what it's all about.
And
I
that's
think
what bank
why
slaloms are
bank
about. That's
slaloms
what
exist. Yeah.
it's good for everybody. You know, you have kids who are just super fast. You have kids who are doing their first contest.
Sure.
And
Sure.
And they can all have a great time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Nice. Right on. What else we got, Sully?
Oh man. Let's see. Well, there's some bad news this week.
Right.
Which is namely Max Perot. I don't know if you
Right.
saw this.
I did. Yeah.
Wow, crazy. Right. I think he's
Right.
24 years old.
Yep.
Just got an Olympic medal.
Right.
And just got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is
Right.
a form of cancer. 24 years old.
Yeah, it said he hadn't missed a contest in 7 years, and all of a sudden he wasn't at the Dew Tour. And I figured it was probably time to let people in on what was going on in his life. Kind of was coming down with some kind of condition on his skin, and it ended up getting it checked out, and had to have a biopsy around the week of the Dew Tour, and then results came back right around Christmas that he has this kind of like it's. I don't think it's a terribly rare form, but it happens to kind of like people between like 15 and 30. And so,
Wow.
Yeah. But
Heavy.
the doctors are optimistic that he that can make it through. So that's good. I think
Isn't it
obviously
crazy? It's like can make it through. It's
Right.
not like, oh, he'll be back on top of the podium at the next limit. It's
Sure,
like,
sure.
you may live.
Right.
There's a very good chance you may live. I mean, that's
Right.
how crazy cancer is. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Obviously, yeah, just that's a heavy one. Our thoughts and our hopes are with him as that moves forward, because there's it's just a lot of challenges with that, just going through chemo in the next 6 months, 7 months. So yeah.
Yeah, scary times, but let's just put our thoughts and prayers behind Max Perot.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
And also, by the way, behind Roberta Rogers.
Absolutely,
Well, she had, just got hit by a car.
This is JP.
randomly.
This is JP Walker's wife. If you don't know, JP's Walker's wife was riding a bike along a highway down in California and ended up getting nailed pretty good, actually really terribly by a truck. And so it's been kind of heartbreaking watching that. There's a GoFundMe page out there. If you Google Roberta Rogers GoFundMe, you can donate and help her cause. And obviously, that's been a hard one to kind of watch from the sidelines. I know we give JP a little bit of heat on this show every once in a while, but it's all in fun. And this is definitely one of those more serious things. So go check out her check out her GoFundMe and help her and her family out in this kind of tough time. Anyway,
Yeah, boy, what a bummer. Let's go into some numbers or something, man. 'cause,
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should do some drugs right now. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do Who's on Drugs for sure.
Okay, let's do Who's on
Okay.
Drugs. I got to get high right now on drugs. No, I mean,
No.
there's theoretically crazy,
Who's on Drugs?
People
would be,
know what that means now. I don't think we have to explain who's on drugs.
I know, and people are starting to be like giving us,
Suggestions.
Hey, this is Who's on Drugs this
Yeah,
week.
I got a suggestion from someone being
Yeah.
like, Travis races line in Japan. That's on drugs.
Who's on Drugs?
And I would say
kind
that
of on drugs.
it was pretty much on drugs, except it was such a similar line to the one he did in 2010 in Alaska that it was
Right.
I thought the Alaska one was actually gnarlier though, because of like the death-defying part of it.
Really?
Well, the second run was like he did 2 runs, one freestyle, one NAR,
Right.
in Alaska versus like just the one kind of mixed bag run in,
Sure.
in Japan.
Sure.
So anyhow,
But
that was a good option though. That was a
Yeah.
good choice maybe
Yeah.
because actually there was some definitely moments where he could have been mistaken for being on drugs.
For sure, for sure. So, but no, I think Who's on Drugs this week has to go to Jesse Paul.
Yeah,
Right?
I'd say that was that was pretty cracked out.
Right. It's funny because somebody had said that, like, hey, this should be Who's on Drugs. And I think we'd both seen it and we're like, wow,
We're on the same page with our listeners.
Yeah, we are. If you hadn't seen it, Jedi Paul's is his Instagram handle, but he does basically like a backflip to a 50-50 to a backside 180 out.
Right. Which is gnarly because it's like literally a backflip. If you just missed that, can you imagine like clipping your jaw on the rail if you didn't land 50-50 and you missed it, or just
like your shins?
Yeah,
just,
or like slid out on the toe edge and just wham right into that rail. That's pretty high consequence.
I wonder if he had any tries where he just completely missed it. And,
yeah. I mean, the other one that I thought that was in contention maybe was like this Seb Toots clip. Did you see that one?
Yeah, the Seb Toots I think dropped today, and it was on the front of Snowboarder. But Seb Toots was on the stairs of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, which is the scene for Rocky 3, the scene where he's running. Yeah, give me a little like...
Right?
Okay, so there's at the top, you got to see this. There's like a double set, a double kink, 24 stair. Then there's a triple kink, 36 stair. Seb Toots at the top. Except here's the biggest part. The filmers were totally on drugs, or the editors were on drugs. Yeah. You know why?
I know exactly why.
Because they didn't use this song. And it should be the only song.
It's like Our Town, I believe it's the name of the song for next time you want to go pull all those permits for the Rocky Stairs.
Sure.
Our Town.
Our Town. I wonder what they had to do to...
I'm just going to keep letting it roll while we're talking about this.
We're just going to keep
soundtrack.
I wonder, so...
It's Our Town, Beef.
There are only 2 songs that you can actually have for this.
Okay, what's the other?
Okay, so the other song, the only other song that you can actually use in this edit would have been The Eye of the Tiger.
Right. However, basically the editors were on drugs this 2 weeks, not
right, because
not the writer.
Right.
And I mean, it's just like literally that slipped through your fingers, like you must be Canadian.
Wow, that's harsh.
I just like, how do you not know the theme song from Rocky? Like, how do you not know you're on the Rocky steps?
Maybe in defense of these people, because they did an edit.
There is no defense.
They did an edit for Red Bull, which you think like
they could have done Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, just contact whoever and just get the rights to Eye of the Tiger for this one thing. It's going to be viewed 500,000 times. Let's just pay the $1,000 for the rights, or whatever it's going to be. But
they were on the wrong kind of drugs.
Yeah, they did it with some dumb soundtrack and like
did nothing for me. It literally diminished the thing, because I had like the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, and they show a bunch of crashes, and it's like that's the whole like Rocky thing is like how he had to like he gets his butt kicked by Apollo Creed, then he has to come back and he has to like dig down deep inside to do it, and like that whole like Rocky story was just absent from this the kind of plot line, obvious low hanging fruit there.
Right, totally.
So, just saying.
Talking about low-hanging fruit.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What?
Last week, Lindsey Vonn was making her comeback this week in skiing.
I can't believe you're going to talk about this. Okay, can I just stop you right there?
It's low-hanging fruit. Because she was making her...
I'll be the judge of that. Okay, what do you got? You got 15 seconds, go.
All right, she was making her like 5th comeback into the World Cup. Stop right now. Let me explain this. And so she was going to Cortina, Italy to race in the World Cup. And of course, like the media just focuses Lindsey Vonn. Right. And of course, Lindsey Vonn blew it and immediately re-retired as of today. That's the news.
Okay, so that was about 15 good riddance.
Right. It's got to be hard.
Honestly, you know what? She was a favorite or whatever, but you're going to hate on snowboarding.
Right.
We're going to push right back.
I think she should have finally retired when, I don't know, Esther Ledecker beat her at the Olympics by 7 slots, right?
She could have just taken that tail, tucked it between her legs, and gone off to the Vail. I think she lives in Vail or something.
And had a great life, being sponsored by Chapstick and Toyota and whatever.
Right. And like hanging out with like stockbrokers, like 50-year-old stockbrokers.
It's like, look, you had a great career. Let's just, let's pack it in. Michaela Schifrin is going to own you, and you got beat by a snowboarder in the Olympics. Let's just, You
lose.
No, she won overall, but anyways, this week in snowboarding is done.
No, as soon as you hate on snowboarding, that just shows that you're a shallow person.
Right.
Honestly, it's like if you're not open to snowboarding. Guess what? I even let Beeb boot ski. Suck on that, Lindsey Vonn. Hey, Beeb.
Oh, what's up there, Sully?
I just wanted to tell you about editorial in advertising free media.
We've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, pretty much since the beginning of the Snowboard project.
Since the beginning of time. Yeah. It's kind of been the foundation of what we've been working off of, right?
Yeah, and so basically we've been trying to keep the advertising and the editorial separated at the Snowboard Project.
Now, advertising as in like advertising sponsorship, right? We throw our little things in the mix.
Yeah, and so basically what we're looking for are our listeners to support us with $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month to support advertising-free snowboarding media. And what that means is that our voice will not be affected by brands, by advertising, and we'll just have an independent voice tell you exactly what we think.
Now, it is possible that we could take like some non-endemic sponsorship, or are we talking like in the snowboard realm?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that we use the support of our listeners to basically fund the Snowboard Project and keep our voice independent and not really influenced by any kind of moneyed interest whatsoever.
So we basically need to rely on our listeners.
Yes.
To go to patreon.com/the Snowboard Project and be willing to buy us a beer.
Yeah.
Or 2 beers, or maybe a case of beer.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be awesome. Patreon.com/the
Snowboard Project.
Oh, hey, that reminds me, we should probably announce our winner for the Beeve meme contest.
Ooh, there
were some good ones.
I actually colluded with this guy, Jeremy Allen. I haven't seen his meme yet. Have you? He was supposed to be making a new meme for the Beeve meme contest.
Actually, yeah. So check us out. Jeremy Allen tried to smoke me, made some ones that were like subpar, but there was a really funny one of like Mark Sullivan skiing with a little like, it was the ropes up to the kiddie harness, and I'm the kid, like two big heads, and I'm the child.
Okay, let's see if there's any.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Here. I thought the Kung Fu Grip Beaver Adams, Grizzly Adams.
I like that one.
Chuck McLean made was great.
Yep.
Michael Parent with the 10-year anniversary for the Tomahawk King. Beeve, the Tomahawk King.
Yep, that one was pretty good.
Yes.
That's good. We've talked about my Alaska Tomahawk a number of times.
Yes, and we got a Leslie Nielsen meme. That was okay.
That was
okay. Low-hanging fruit. Daniel Clark put one in.
The first time the Beeve saw a Beeve.
And then you shot back. You actually pushed back on Jeremy Allen.
So Jeremy Allen, he likes to just roast me at every moment. So I shot back and made a meme. And Jeremy Allen looks, he's the snowboarder with like a big beard, it looks like every other snowboarder. But I dug deep in his archives and found out the dude actually looks a lot like the lead singer of Creed, Scott Stepp.
No wonder he grew a beard.
Yeah, no wonder he grew a beard.
Hiding behind all that hair.
So I did a meme of him on the cover of the Creed thing, and with the caption that said, "Can you take me higher, Jeremy Allen?"
Well, I got to say, I'd say Jeremy Allen, actually, if you're going to award someone, I would say, even in the silence, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, it's me holding the ropes on you. That's
who you think's the winner, but I get to pick the winner.
I thought we get to both choose, and then we add up with the scores.
It's my hot snowboard I'm giving away.
That's true.
You know who won on that Beeve meme? I did.
What?
Because I put Jeremy Allen's face then on
fair.
the "Can You Take Me Higher" video
fair.
premiere from Vivo. It's classic. I just won that
I
one.
thought it was great. I thought you're giving it to yourself.
Yeah, I'm giving it to myself.
I'm giving it to Jeremy because he pulled you off the bench and made you he salted you so bad that you were like, I can't take that anymore. I have to respond.
But Chuck McLean's was so good. The Beaver Adams action doll was out of control good.
I'm surprised nobody did a Leave It to Beaver. I'm actually a little disappointed, frankly.
It's amazing.
Jeez, Wally. Okay, anyhow.
Anyway, let's give it to Jeremy Allen. Jeremy, you can message us on Facebook,
and you got to drop that other meme. I colluded with you. He actually asked me to take a special custom photo.
Right.
And so I actually colluded for the Beeve meme contest. Where did it get me? Nowhere. At least I admit to my collusion.
Right. Well, we have a lot of fun with the Dig My Quiver guys and putting stuff up there, and so
and the sport of snowboarding too.
And the sport of snowboarding. Yeah, we do. Okay, so a crew of guys that has been doing awesome things for 30 years is the all those dudes down in Salt Lake.
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I'm just talking about how Trans World Snow is premiering their Rewind series, Rewind Salt Lake, which is kind of chronologically showing through a bunch of episodes that they're going to kind of roll out throughout the next few weeks, kind of the history of snowboarding in Salt Lake, which is obviously a scene that has been kind of leading the charge in a number of different areas.
Yeah, but it got a slow start, actually, because really Tahoe was on the map, Breckenridge was on the map, And then slowly people trickled from both sides, from Colorado and from California to Utah, because they realized how good the powder was.
Would you also say that the street scene was largely influenced by Salt Lake City?
Well, eventually, yes, but really it started in Colorado.
Sure.
Right. And so that also, moved out west. And, there are some definite pioneers. I hope they got interviews with guys like Andy Brewer. I haven't seen all the interviews, but I know they got Andy Wright, J2, some of the early guys.
Right.
But really, that's the 90s. There was actually a whole scene in the 80s as well, with George Johnson and Andy Brewer and those guys.
Right.
So.
Right. But anyways, yeah, so they premiered that at the... let's see, at the Fisher Brewing last night. There were some people like Shane Charlebois, Eastone,
Nice.
J2, Deadlung,
Cool.
Jeremy Jones, Bittner, Merrill, Grenier. They kind of all showed up.
Wow. Who's who of Salt Lake riders, past and present.
Past and present. Some photographers there and filmers.
Cool.
And
Sounds like we both missed out, Beef.
we did. We missed out for sure.
Okay.
It looked like a pretty
so
good
how
time.
can we see this?
It's going to be rolled out over the next, I don't know how many weeks, but they're going to, drop an episode a week.
Episode series.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of cool. So it's taking a lot of that archival footage and repurposing it in a really cool way.
Right.
Which I
Telling
think
the
is
story of the Salt Lake scene.
right. And we're
Cool.
now in this point in snowboarding where we have so much archival
Grizzly
footage. 30
Gulch.
or 40.
That was the first backcountry
right.
boot, or built by, I think Brewer actually
Yeah.
built that first.
He was the first guy that built Grizzly Gulch.
He was definitely there at that first session. He definitely rode it better than anybody.
Who
First guy I ever saw do a 7 was Brewer, not even with my own 2 eyes in a video.
who pioneered the pyramid gap
I think
or
that
Chads?
it might have been Bjorn.
Bjorn?
It might have been. I can't say for sure actually.
Yeah.
But definitely that was a big one. I think Absinthe guys
Sure.
did it first. So it could have been a number of different riders, really.
What about Chad's Gap? Do you know? They're
Not
two
sure.
very similar ones, in the
Right.
same valley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm not sure. I mean, I live in Idaho, not Utah, so
Right.
I'll have to watch that movie. I'm
Why
sure
do you-
they discussed that in the movie. What's it called again?
It's called Rewind Salt Lake City.
Rewind.
Why do you have a Salt Lake phone number?
You want to hear the story? You really want to hear the story? I'll tell it to you. It takes about
Sure.
a minute. Okay,
Sure.
So basically, I had just started Snowboard magazine.
Okay.
And I was living up here, and I had AT&T as my phone service, and so
Sure.
basically, I was just on the phone. This is before unlimited plans. So
Right.
I went from a 1,500 minute a month thing, and I blew by it. I had 7,000 minutes the first month I launched the magazine,
Right.
telling everyone
Wow.
that I was launching this business.
Right.
And so they're basically like, "Oh no, we're not cutting you a break. You owe us $1,500."
Ooh.
And so I was like, "F you, AT&T." I was driving through Salt Lake at the time, and I basically pulled over and got a new phone number because I couldn't transfer it because I owed all that money.
No way.
I owed $1,500, and I think I told them they could eat it.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
I was so pissed.
And they did never come after you for that
I
$1,500
don't know if
bucks.
they did or not.
That was your credit score.
Crappy.
Yeah.
It's always been crappy. I'm a snowboarder.
I'm a snowboarder.
Ever since I sold Snowboard Mag, it's been crappy.
Wow.
But you know why? It's because it's I'm dedicated to snowboarding first, and you know what? It's
Right.
I let I just give everything I can to snowboarding, not to my credit score.
Gotcha. That is an interesting story. I was wondering why.
Yeah,
you
why
always
haven't
had an
I've never
801.
actually lived in
Yeah.
Utah. Never lived
in Utah, but I've
No, spent a lot of time at Mikey LeBlanc's house when we were starting the magazine. I would transfer back and forth, but quite a bit. Stay there quite a bit. But
Maybe we need a Mikey LeBlanc interview.
We'll get one. We'll get
Okay.
one of these days.
Okay.
There's lots of people. We have so many.
Yeah.
We still have 30 in the hole.
I know.
So it's okay, can we just get these out? Can you
Right.
guys just tune in a little bit more?
Right.
We got so many episodes ready to come out to
Sure.
drop. So anyhow.
Speaking of an episode,
Yeah.
basically this week, Transworld was releasing their top 10 photos of 2018 from a couple of their staff photographers.
Ooh.
There was Darcy Baca's,
Cool.
which was rad, and then they just released Andy Wright's top
Oh.
10.
Really? We interviewed him.
And we had Andy Wright as episode, I believe, 34
Okay.
of the Snowboard Project.
I wonder if he picked his favorite photos or if Transworld picked them for him, because I asked
No,
him.
he said he picked them. Yeah.
Really?
Yep. They
That's
were his.
lame, because I asked him what his favorite photos were, and he's like, "Oh, as a photographer, you love all your photos like your children," or something like that, right? It's like, you can't just pick one.
Oh,
right?
wow. So they forced his hand to pick them.
I guess they did. Well, they actually write him checks. We were just asking him to share his knowledge.
If he asked Transworld to pick his best photo, he'd just be asking himself, right? Since he's the
staff
photographer.
Maybe so.
photo
Maybe so.
editor.
That's a good point, Beef. I don't know, actually. But episode 34 is actually a really fun interview to do. And very insightful. He's been a senior photographer for Transworld for 17 years.
Right.
Talk about a long career. He gets out in the backcountry. He builds jumps. He does all of it. And he started actually as a pro rider.
Right.
For Nitro.
And if you want to check out his stuff on the Transworld site, it just got dropped.
Cool. Anything else?
There's some really good ones of like Devin Walsh, backside 3 of the snow fences in Japan. Just reiterated the fact that like everybody, you know, is in Japan and Europe. Even though that was probably shot last year.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, and it's cool because the snow fences are, I don't know, there's just a great photo. And then his favorite one was a shot of Torstein. Basically on this like massive jump, and it looks like it just drops off into a gully.
Cool.
You know, so
I'll check that out.
Yeah, definitely check that out.
I'm definitely a fan of photography. Also photographers. I think they're some of the unsung heroes. Talk about living with cold fingers.
For sure.
That's what photography will get you.
Right.
In the sport of snowboarding.
Right. Another thing that I saw kind of come across the beat, we always talk about Stan. His Last Resort Baldface edition is probably dropping this week.
Yeah, I saw him claim that like Monday, my best episode ever comes out.
Wait,
that's today. That's today.
So we got to be looking for Stan's Baldface.
Yeah, I think that comes out today. So maybe we'll talk about it next week. Maybe we'll just be so bitter with jealousy that we can't talk about it.
Right.
Just fuming.
No more Stan.
No more Stan. You cut Stan. All you do is ride powder. You think you're better than us.
Right. Right.
Something like that. Anyhow.
So good for Stan.
Yeah, good for Stan.
So be looking for that one.
I also saw some clips from Skalf Norway. That looked awesome.
Really?
Yeah, that actually looked awesome. They have like this look-up rail. You got a 50-50 rail, but you have to be looking uphill. Hilarious. Yeah.
Like, let's just
I can't wait till that comes out too.
Let's hurt some people. Make them look uphill. Not even that they're landing.
I can't wait to see that. Yeah, Skalf is just like one of my favorite contest series because it really puts a nice twist on rides. Kind of like the Trick Twister.
Sure.
Where it's like you show up, you don't know what you're going to do, and it's like they throw it at you, and it's like, okay, I never even tried that before.
I think the cool thing about Skalf is it's just like it's making fun of the contest scene so hard, but at the same time,
it's just super hard contest.
Like at the same time, it is just reiterating the fact that like we got to have fun in snowboarding as number one.
I think also that because it's like these kind of crazy tricks a lot of times, you're actually asking riders to do stuff they've never tried before, like the whole field.
Right.
Like who like has gone to like 50-50 a rail, but like 10 feet before it, they have to like turn their head so they're looking directly uphill.
Sure.
Right? It's like, well, let's just see what your natural ability is. Let's see how much practice you have under your belt so if you can adapt. Right. So I think it's kind of neat how they had one where they had like a Jersey barrier between two rails that you had to ollie over in the middle of a rail.
Sure.
That was in Utah, Brighton. But anyhow, fan of Skalf.
Let me ask you something. We had a conversation with Danny Davis this last week.
Yep.
And it came out on Friday.
Yep.
Did you re-listen to that?
Yes.
You did.
I did. I liked it.
Yeah. What were some of your thoughts on that? We talked about a lot about like format. We talked about judging.
Yeah.
We talked about keeping fun in snowboarding.
Well, I mean, it just reaffirmed everything I've been thinking. In fact, all these interviews with the pros are actually reaffirming my thinking for the last 5 years, which is like we need to evolve the contest format to what the riders want.
Sure.
And it's going to take, maybe we do go to The Hague. Maybe we do have a meeting at The Hague and we string some people up and then we change our formats.
Right.
Bounce some people out and change the way that we look at snowboarding. And granted, it will be a gradual process, but clearly the will is there on the side of the riders.
Sure.
To make those changes.
Yeah, I think there was lots of talk just about like valuing style over the amount of spins.
Right.
But really like forcing, maybe through format or the terrain, forcing style, And I thought it was interesting. He talked about, I think you've said, well, how do you ever train for this, and he said, well, in skateboarding, those guys show up to some event on some skate park. They don't know what it is, and they're going to have to, look at it, translate the terrain, and then do their best run.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the most exciting part of that interview is hearing those stories firsthand of his comebacks.
Totally.
Because it's like, oh, yeah, people know him for his thrill of victory. Oh, he's sponsored by Burton. He's done the Peace Park, and he's won all these different contests. But it's like, no, he's actually had to face some real serious injuries, some serious adversity, and he's overcome that and made it back to the top of the game. And just that determination, that passion for snowboarding is something that I took with me.
And I think the thing that I took with me is like Danny is a snowboarder. You know, regardless of what level he's at, that guy is just he's snowboarder to the core. You know, and sometimes when you get to that top level, you know, you can be criticized for being at that top level. But I think, you know, and be saying like, well, he sold out or he did this or whatever. But I think he is one of those guys that he is a snowboarder.
Yeah.
He thinks about these things above, you know, everything else, which is keeping fun at the front of it,
right?
You know, like having a good time and being just an overall generally nice guy.
He is. And I was trying to come up with a little tagline for the episode. I'm trying to come up with little taglines to give people an idea what's in there, and so I just settled on Danny Davis. Love is snowboarding.
I was wondering where that came from, but I was like, kind of true. You know?
Yeah, and so I just like his passion for snowboarding. That's about is just to say that like, hey, he loves snowboarding and snowboarding is love.
Sure.
So anyhow,
sure. Let me ask you something. This is completely unrelated, but is it hard? Was it hard as a publisher getting the photographers to always come up with some witty byline for a photo every week?
No,
like I was reading
those.
some.
Me and Brazos would write the captions basically, you know, or me and J2 would write captions as well. If we wanted to be witty captions.
Yeah.
J2 was always witty.
Yeah.
But no, we would always write the captions. They had a hard enough time labeling their slides, right?
So
like
was you guys writing captions?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It still happens to this day. Like I was just like going through it, and on some level, I'm a little past it, but I still laugh a little.
But honestly, it's like you get the knack after like spending hours and hours and hours writing captions. You kind of like figure out kind of little formulas of like how to make it like little witticism or what to poke fun at. You look at the photo, you're like, oh look, he's wearing like pink gloves. Okay, something pink, pink, and then you just kind of go down these different rabbit holes until you come up with something you find funny.
I would imagine that to be quite time consuming.
It actually is like more than you would give it. Like in terms of like density per word, like time per word, it's like poetry, right? It's like you're trying to put the most idea into the shortest, most concise thing.
Like you're snowboarding haiku, go.
I don't even know what a haiku is anymore. That was like 6th grade. That's like the first poem you ever
It's like
wrote.
5 words, 7 syllables. I don't know. Something silly like that.
I'm not a freestyle rapper here. I'll write a caption for you.
Right. I was way off. I have no idea what a haiku is either. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
so
I imagine it to be extremely difficult.
Way to throw myself under the bus and yourself at the same time. Great job, B. You suck.
Okay, folks, this is going to be a little bit serious.
That was a pretty serious.
I'm dead serious about this next ad here.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is an ad or what, but here's the thing. A buddy of mine, J2, he was a pro rider in the 90s. I've known him since 1991. He worked with me on Snowboard Mag. When we started Snowboard Mag, he worked in the photo department there. And right now, he is suffering from cancer. And so it's really a bummer, Beeve. It's like when a friend of yours has cancer. I've had a few friends who've had cancer. I've had a few friends die of cancer now.
Sure.
And I think most people in the world have had cancer affect their life in some way or another.
Absolutely.
Well, J2 was a pro rider, and he is a guy who basically just followed his dreams as a snowboarder. Well, he needs our help, Beeve.
Yeah, how can we help him?
Okay, so he's got a GoFundMe page. He's trying to get some stem cell treatments, and he's got to go actually overseas for that, but there's a GoFundMe page set up right now for J2, and just let's go to GoFundMe, look up J2. His name is Jason Rasmus, but if you look up J2, it'll be the top result, and I believe he's about $12,000 of the $15,000 goal that will help him get the treatment that he needs to hopefully survive. I mean, seriously, stem cell research is one of the most promising new forms of medicine.
Sure.
And man, I've donated. I've asked people to donate. I've shared it on Facebook. Share that thing. Donate $5, $1, whatever, please. J2 has contributed a lot for the sport, so hopefully the sport can give enough back to J2 so he can get some medical treatment.
We have anything else we could talk about this week?
Yeah. Let's just say this. China is building how many resorts?
800 by the time the next Olympics. Oh, just 800 resorts, twice as many as in like North America total.
Wait, is the next Olympics in China? Like
next winter, yeah.
Is it
4 years?
So they also have summer and winter. They're doing 2020 and
in the same place, by the way.
Wait, Tokyo.
2012 was it in Beijing? That was London. And yeah, they had a Summer Olympics there.
Right.
And now they're going to have...
But 2020 is in Tokyo.
In Tokyo, but 2022 is Beijing again.
Oh, gotcha.
But Winter Olympics Beijing, not Summer Olympics Beijing.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of weird to have like the same city have the Winter and the Summer Olympics.
Right.
But
is Salt Lake taking another Winter Olympics?
Salt Lake is actually 2030, unless, from what I understand, unless Italy backs out, because Italy has been awarded the bid for 2026. By the way, that was my favorite. Probably just I love Italy.
Right.
Hanging out there for a month is awesome.
Sure.
But if they back out, then I guess Salt Lake will get 2026.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the news there. But yeah, 800 new resorts, more than all of North America. Let's hope they have some mountains in China. I haven't seen many photos. I actually saw a little video from like a little Burton event they had over there recently. Mm-hmm. The riders are just getting up to speed, so no commentary on the riders. What I did notice, though, it was like they were riding snow in a snowboard park, and you look in the backdrop, and it's just like no snow on the hillsides. Literally like just like trees with no leaves on it and just brown all around the snowboard park. The only snow was actually in the park.
Just man-made snow.
Just man-made. So I'm not sure. And that was the venue actually for the Slopestyle 2022.
Crazy.
And I think this happened in January. So
okay,
we're gonna have to hold, and we're definitely not holding our breath until we see those 800 resorts. Because
right.
I mean, you thought it was crazy, like that Russia built like some of the best resorts in like 4 years' time. China's like, oh, you thought you were badass, Sochi? No, we're building 800 resorts. Right, 800. That's crazy.
Given the fact that like Seoul, or Korea basically just constructed like 4.
Right. I bet like Doppelmayr and Palma are just building factories over.
Right.
I mean, think about it. It's like, talk about, this is like probably the biggest boom in ski area history as far as building ski resorts in like one quick. I mean, I think the 60s.
I think we're on the decline in the U.S.
We kind of are, but like in the 60s, there was a lot of resorts here and they were springing up. But really, it's like 800 in 4 years. I don't think that's ever even been attempted.
Isn't there something like in the state of Colorado, like 100 just ghost resorts?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's like at least half the resorts are out of business that have been around like all over. There's actually a website dedicated to that, and actually those resorts are cool places to go backcountry sledding, skiing, whatever.
Right,
and you can get access to them.
Right,
because they have the runs cut already. Access.
Right. It's pretty sick.
Provided.
I think there's a little documentary that came out last year. That
and then I heard that Korea cut down their ski venue.
Yeah.
While China's building 800,
right.
South Korea is destroying one. They're throwing $200 million away.
South Korea, spent $200 million to construct the Gyeongsan Alpine Center, which was built on like an old mining, I guess, area. And so they spent $200 million making this ski area, which before, in its defense, they'd actually made a deal with the Korea Forest Service that it would be returned back to its natural state after the games.
Right.
And so they have to take everything out, deconstruct it and plow everything back in and probably plant some trees and, but it's going to cost South Korea $70 million to do that.
Well, at least we know they can unload the used lift in China.
Right. Yeah. On Alibaba. It'll be up on Alibaba next week.
Right. I mean, I wonder actually if like the Chinese are starting like lift companies, because honestly, you're putting in 800 resorts, each one has multiple lifts. It's like, why wouldn't the Chinese just reverse engineer? It's like if they're reverse engineering American fighter jets, why not ski lifts from Switzerland?
Right.
Anyhow.
Anyway,
let's go to trivia.
Yeah, let's do some trivia. Let's do some last week's trivia. Who won the first Mountain Baker Banks slalom there, Mark Sullivan?
Ooh, I think that was Tom Sims.
Tom Sims.
Yeah, and people actually accused him of sandbagging a little bit because basically the course was set by him riding down the banks of Mount Baker and then someone following his track and putting gates inside of his turns. He literally rode down and then they put gates where his turns were. And then they raced on his turns.
And then he just won it. Because it was his perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sandbagging.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, well, so that was Tom Sims. What year was that?
I think that was 1985.
85.
Yeah.
How many Baker Banks slaloms have happened?
I don't know. Do you know, Beef? I don't actually know the full number.
You'd think, from 85 to 2019, what's that number?
34,
34,
yeah.
Math. But 1 year, they couldn't do it because of snow, right?
Right.
So this is actually, the one that's coming up February 8th, 9th, and 10th will be the 33rd. banked slalom.
Really? What year did they not have it? Do you remember?
I want to say that was like 2016 maybe or 17.
Yeah, it wasn't too far. I think it was supposed to be the 30th. It was supposed to be the 30th year, so that would be what?
I think 2016.
14 or 15.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to postpone it.
Yeah.
I think it was the 30th year, so 30th year would have been 2014. They started in 85.
I remember that, though.
Anyhow,
Everyone
there was 1 year that basically they had to postpone because it just like rained all the way into the middle of January. They're like, we could get lucky, but we're not going to gamble on that. People travel from all over the world for this thing.
I think it was was it our Corey McDonald interview that we did this week where they said they went and just did another event where they got like all the duct tape and the awards were already made, so they just went and did an event.
Did they really?
Somebody told me that.
I don't know.
Like
Maybe
within
it
the
was.
week, somebody was saying that.
Really?
It might have been Corey. Anyway, doesn't matter. Kind of funny. How many what is Mount Hood's modified bank slalom called?
That would be called the Rat Race.
The Rat Race.
And that was kind of like the first hill track kind of bank slalom.
Yep.
But where you go, it's almost like a cross between a border cross, but actually not the border cross with the death-defying jumps where you're gonna, put your tibia through your femur if you don't make it.
Right.
But like the kind where it's like 10, 15, car length jumps basically.
Sure.
And rhythm sections and that kind of thing. So it's kind of like a modified snowboard cross, a little bit smaller, maybe a modified bank slalom, but either way, that was kind of like the first hill track bank slalom they did at Hood.
And we found out this week that was invented by the diggers there at High Cascade.
That was Austin Sweeten and Austin Smith.
Was it?
I think so.
Oh, maybe so.
Or maybe Jesse or
I was thinking Corey was saying it was
you got it
someone.
all wrong though. It's definitely
Really?
not the Diggers.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay.
Like he was like, no, he stopped you because you gave credit to the Diggers and he stopped you.
Oh.
You'll have to wait for the Corey McDonald interview this summer.
All right.
It'll come out before people go to Hood.
Summer. We're doing it in summer.
Dude, I mean, I've already recorded through May.
Sure.
So
okay. All right.
There's no rush.
There is no rush.
And honestly, it's like if we're going to be talking about Hood, we might as well
May
wait
as well,
until
right?
time.
Yeah. We should
Anyhow,
get people stoked on going up there and
yeah,
working.
I'm stoked to go up there.
What is Jackson Hole's bank slalom?
I don't know. Dick Stitch.
Dick Stitch.
Yeah. Is that it?
It's kind of a modified bank slalom too. I think they have little, they have bank turns and then they have little jumps in the middle in some of them.
That's modified hell track style.
I like it.
I like the hell track. It's funny. I was thinking that like, how cool would it be to have like a bank slalom beer league in town? Or bank slalom, or even border cross beer league, where it's just like you go out, you have like teams of like 2 or 3, and like how they have like ski racing, like we live in a ski town, so they have like the ski race league for like all these like old farts,
right?
And like, but we should have something like that for snowboarding, where it's like either like bank slalom or even like a watered down border cross, where it's just like car sized jumps instead of like 60-foot jumps, where everyone could do it.
Should we go get the bsbl.org? website?
BSBL?
Yeah, Bank Slalom
Beer
League.
BSBL.
Yeah. Should we just go?
We could have like the silhouette of a guy with a beer in one hand doing a heel side turn with like the red on top and the blue behind him, like the NBA.
Yeah.
I can. Okay, I'm already seeing this,
Wow,
Pete.
me
I'm already
too.
seeing
Me
it.
too.
I think we should.
And we could actually sell little like fisherman
And
huts.
plus, that would give them every
warming huts.
reason to give us a permanent bank slalom here.
Why don't we have permanent bank slaloms? I mean, resorts we build these bank slaloms and then instantly tear them down. Why don't the snowboarders get together and go up to just any
I rode through
side
there. There
hill?
were just jumps there. There were actually jumps there where the bank slalom was. So hit those jumps this morning on the way to work.
I figure on the side country of your resort, you should just get all your friends together, 20 deep, you guys, go cut in a bank slalom that lives there all year.
Yeah.
And just have a
and
BSBL.
when you get snow,
you can build a smoke hut at the top and the bottom.
Right. Anything you want.
You can bring a generator. You can, bring cases of beer there. And it was just like
all sorts of options. If you're outlining some of the multitude of possibilities.
Snowboarder Neverland, just sitting in a gully on the side of your resort.
Let's talk about that, because then we could have like beer league championships where it's like Sun Valley competes against Park City, competes against Jackson Hole, and then we have like the you got to chug a beer before you drop in. We could have all sorts like modified
right
events.
You'd have to they would roll the dice for a number, and you'd have to do one trick and the one jump in the middle, like 360.
Right.
Pound of beer.
Yeah, you could like combine Sculf into it, where it's like you have to do where like you have to pull this rail past these 2 lines. You spray paint like 2 lines on the rail, and you have to make it at least like 16 to the 20 feet or something.
This is the most genius idea I've ever heard, actually.
Really?
BSBL.org.
We'll have to look into that.
Someone's gonna go get
I
it.
tried
right
to
now.
look up FSF or whatever
SFS. Yeah, we're not. That's on the down low though, right?
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Never mind. Okay. What else do we got for trivia? Sorry.
Yeah. Anyways,
Back to trivia.
Back to trivia. Let's see here. What was the modified bank slalom on the East Coast called?
Oh, that's totally different kind of modification though.
And what makes it modified? Yeah.
Okay, so that was called the Mike Baker bank slalom, not to be confused with the Mount Baker. Mike Baker bank
Right.
slalom that happened either Waterville, Loon, one of those places.
Sure.
But basically it was like combining the gauntlet from the World Quarter Pipe Championships with a bank slalom.
Interesting.
So essentially, like you would get snowballs thrown at you, beer thrown on you as you're competing. You had to like ollie trees that they would pull out of the woods and just throw into the middle of the course. Just all sorts of random obstacles. And by the way, like every run, the obstacles on course could change.
Okay.
Like third turn, there's the tree down, right? And then it's like, wait, where'd the tree go?
Right, and then it's like on fire the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just like anything goes kind of thing. And
that sounds amazing.
yeah, it actually looks super fun, super amazing. The Mike Baker bank slalom.
I find it kind of interesting. Like there's the Baker bank slalom, there's the Mike Baker, there's the Don Baker bank slalom.
Right. Well, it's funny because they actually give a free entry to anyone who wins the Mount Baker bank slalom to the Mike Baker bank slalom.
No, really?
So actually,
It's a
qualifier,
reverse, yeah.
the qualifier for the Mike Baker is the Mount Baker.
Is the Mount Baker.
Right.
They're like, we really have to make sure that this guy can ride before he goes,
Yes.
into the
Well,
gauntlet.
the thing is, it's like not a lot of people are used to jumping over burning trees
Right.
that were pulled out of the woods,
Right.
or having beer spit in your face,
Sure,
as you're
sure.
trying to race. So anyhow, the Mike Baker bank slalom, quite a legendary East Coast event.
Okay.
These days.
All right. All
Yeah.
right.
Any other trivia?
Nope. Let's go into our next week's
Okay,
trivia.
what do we got?
We got Salt Lake City shred scene trivia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Figured we'd be a little specific. Who was this is a little bit objective, but I'm gonna say you are pretty clear on knowing who this is. Who was the first Salt Lake City pro to really put that city on the map?
Right. And pro might be a loose term because this is in the early days of snowboarding. So, maybe even pre-Craig Kelly. So
Wow.
you really have to
gotta
go
dig.
deep. You got to go dig fairly deep, but there's like one guy who was like the standout freestyle rider in Salt Lake.
Sure. All right. Countering a really hard question with a really easy one.
Okay.
List the 2 resorts that don't allow snowboarding.
And which one sucks less? Trick question.
Trick
They both
question,
suck
they both
equally.
suck.
Okay.
All right. Name the 2 snowboard shops that are located within 2 blocks of each other. And they're like the biggest shops in Salt Lake.
Yeah, maybe some of the biggest in the world even.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay. That's a pretty easy one too.
That's a pretty easy one. And then this one's kind of pretty easy one too. Name the snowboarders' go-to Mexican food joint very close to those snowboard shops.
Right, and if you don't know the answer to this, you're definitely going to want to hit it up on your next trip to Salt Lake because I can't tell you how many carne asada burritos I've eaten from this place over the years.
Well, staring at the C rating on their window.
There isn't a C rating on the
Oh,
windows.
it's delicious. Yeah, you just don't even worry about the C.
I don't. Is there really a C there?
I have no idea. I think when I went there
but there's
once,
all
I
like
was
signed pictures from J.P. Walker.
you
and
know
Mikey
that it's a good
LeBlanc.
Mexican restaurant when they get rated like a C or D. Like
And they're
A
still
is
like open
bullshit.
and busy.
Yeah, A is completely bullshit. A is like Americanized.
What's
Mexican
your rating
food.
here at the Hot Water Inn? What's your
God, I don't know.
Three Jerks barbecue? J for jerk.
Jamaican. For
Jamaican.
jerk. I don't know. We haven't been rated. We passed.
Do you have a hard time? Are these guys like stoned all the time? Is it like hard? Are they like typical
No.
Jamaicans?
No.
They're
But-
serious.
yeah.
About work and
They-
business.
they
getting it
are.
done. I know because it seems like they're on top of stuff,
Yeah.
but then you're like, oh man, the stereotypes. you
Right.
know? Anyhow,
All right. And let's see here. The last question. Salt Lake City houses the largest snowboard collection in the world. And who owns it?
ooh,
Ooh.
and where
gonna
can
be a
you
tough
see
one.
it?
Tough
or
question.
can you see it?
I don't think you can. Maybe I'm
Not
wrong.
you can see half of part of it.
Part of it?
Fraction.
All
Fraction of you can see some choice selections. You can see about 1,000 of the choice selections. I'll put it to you that way.
Right, right. All right. Well, that's it for our trivia. Just a couple things. Episodes coming up. Just be aware we have Tracy Canaday this next week and
Yeah.
Zeb Powell. So be checking that out Wednesday and Friday. Tracy Canaday, obviously the owner of Never Summer, and creator of Never Summer, and Zeb Powell is
Nitro Pro Rider, high school kid.
pro rider, high school kid.
Yeah. And that one, it's like I almost felt like I was just kind of feeding him with the questions, like things to think about.
Right.
It's like a little bit short on the answers, but honestly, it's cool to get like a window into the life of this kid who's going to have like the world in front as far as snowboarding goes. So, really cool.
Yeah, and then talk about someone that really had the world open up for them through snowboarding. Barrett Christie.
Yeah.
One of those pro women that just had and still has a great career within
I would say
the snowboard
inspirational basically to every women competitor today. First place, last place women, from the competitive realm of snowboarding, look up to Barrett Christie still.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the next Friday, it's going to be Gimbal God.
That's just a boss interview.
Might as well.
Yeah, it'll be on video too. We also have videos up on our YouTube channel. Also want to tell you can go to Instagram / The Snowboard Project, Facebook / The Snowboard Project. I don't think we've ever actually told people we have a website or
right.
I'm actually rebuilding our website this week, but yeah, we have a website. We have Instagram. We have Facebook. We don't do Twitter because
who tweets?
Yeah,
the president.
Yeah, that's reason enough for us not to tweet.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So anyhow,
but and if you feel like really being awesome, you can go to our Patreon.com / The Snowboard Project. You can donate to this podcast and us being able to keep doing all these fun interviews
and also just thank you to our listeners. I mean, I've been looking at our stats. Like we have 15 listeners in Kenya, and we have.
Wow.
We have literally a handful
Really?
in Sri Lanka, 3 listeners in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Got about 10 in Jamaica, right? Dominican Republic, there's a handful there. And then
Really?
Colombia, Ecuador, Costa Rica, all these places you wouldn't expect people to be snowboarding, but certainly they're listening to the Snowboard Project.
Wow.
So shout out to everyone, no matter where you are, listening to the Snowboard Project. Please give us your feedback. We got a tip line. You can email me or the Beeve, mark@thesnowboardproject.com, beeve@thesnowboardproject.com.
Or you can message us on Instagram. That's the easiest for me.
Instagram is the easiest, or even Facebook are probably the ones we check most.
And we appreciate it. We end up pulling a lot of that information into what we have going on. So thank you
give us some
guys.
tips.
Don't forget to share this with your friends, rate us, review us. And thanks again for tuning in. Any last words, Mark Sullivan?
Man, let's go riding.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
I actually have to ride home after this. I am. I left my board at the mountain, actually. It's over there waiting for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, go hop on that snowboard. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Peace.
On behalf of Mark Sullivan and the Beeve, thanks for listening to the Snowboard Project. Remember, ride fast, take chances, dream big, and take action. And for God's sake, don't forget to support advertising-free snowboarding media at patreon.com. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.